to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another thrilling, exciting, stupendous episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com, and we are going to be talking about a movie called Southbound. A movie so exciting and memorable that I've had to ask what the title was 5 times before the show started. But that's
I thought we were doing Europa Report.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there. We missed the pre-show because I was late. Then we had technical difficulties, but we are here now, and everything is working. First up tonight, joining me, he builds bloodygoodhorror.com with his little web beaver hands, and he's adorable while he does it. His name is Mark.
Howdy.
How's it going, Mark?
Good.
Dracaris.
Dracaris.
Yes. Next up on the show, he is an author of horror fiction and co-host of the Instamatic. His name is Casey.
Oh, hey, that's me.
And next up on the show, the business manager at bloodygoodhorror.com, a fancy lad who went to Duke. His name is John Schnars.
Howdy.
Dukey's in the house, y'all. Next up on the show, he lives in Chicago. He loves cured meats and beer like a man. He also has his new house in the fucking suburbs now. His name's Joe.
That's right.
Living the dream. Posted an Instagram picture of him in a hammock last weekend.
Oh, 2 hammocks. We had 2 hammocks there.
What is it? That's an embarrassment of hammock riches right there.
We got an evening hammock and a daytime hammock.
Oh, what's the difference?
One's on the deck for evening hanging.
You have a
The
deck?
other one, yeah, we got a deck.
You're a
we got
1%er,
tree.
Joe.
To be like closer to the house so that like
Yeah, you know, just for like evening time hanging, and then the other one is underneath the tree for daytime. Sun doesn't burn you hammocking.
Nice.
it's like the purge breaks out, you have to get inside quickly type of situation.
If the purge breaks out, I will bring the hammocks in first and then work on my family.
I mean,
Perfect.
priorities are important. So, we're here tonight to talk about Southbound. This is the first day that I've not been sick pretty much since my baby was born, so feeling good. I'm still a little phlegmy though, John. Fair warning.
Eric, welcome to the rest of your life, my friend, because babies done make you sick.
I am pretty
Always.
sure that I had pneumonia, and I'm pretty sure I know who I got it from. There was a dude on the plane on the way back from Mark's wedding who who was just hacking up the grossest lung like the entire plane ride. Like, you ever get in a plane next to those people and you're like, well, great, I'm going to get fucking Ebola now and I'm dead, and it's because of this guy that I can't escape.
And
I
you
choose
kiss
to
them
believe
now?
that you were still drunk for my wedding and making out with strangers on the plane.
Oh, it was so gross. The second I heard him cough, I went, well, my life's over. Great.
Man, are you that close to the edge?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
All it takes is like one guy
yeah,
on a
it's like
plane.
Rob Lowe on Parks and Rec. My body is a microchip. One little hair. We are here to talk about Southbound. John, other things going on, movies coming at us fast and furious in the theaters. Do you want to talk about that?
Good, sweet Jesus. There are so many movies. Yeah, I mean, the horror season is typically the fall, but this year they have deemed it wise to go a little crazy here for the beginning of the summer. So this week we actually have The Shallows. I would say that's like the sort of standard horror release for the week. We also have The Neon Demon, which is probably going to get kicked to the Sophisticult at this point. But that's the Nicholas Winding Refn. It actually looks very similar to Starry Eyes if you guys watch the trailers. And then Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh, I like
this week.
Resurgence better.
Resurgence. Listen, they've been waiting 20 years for this Surgis, and they are going to get some.
They had me at Goldblum.
Yeah. July 1st, so next week, we have The Purge 3. I think it has something to do with elections. And
It's a rumor.
yeah, July 8th, we have an open week. Then we hit probably the most anticipated movie of the year by the female hating crowd on Twitter, Ghostbusters.
Oh, I was like, what? Where are you going with that one, Schnars?
Yeah.
Got it.
And then we have a movie July 22nd called Lights Out.
Mm.
So we have a full July, essentially, a full horror month in the theater.
I'll tell you what, nothing like having a newborn at home to make you appreciate a nice Sunday matinee at the movie theater.
Cool.
No, that is true.
Of course.
Or to make your
Yes.
wife hate you for
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
enjoying a Sunday afternoon matinee.
Oh yeah.
There's more beyond that. In fact, the last weekend in July, there's a movie called Nerve. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's listed as thriller, but it's done by the Just Schulman duo that did, I think, the third Paranormal Activity.
So they are Not For Nothing also behind the Catfish show on MTV.
Yes,
Ah.
it is the same crew. I think it's Juiced was also in Paranormal Activity 3. He was like the one of the guys.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so that's the whole month of July. We get a little bit of a break in August. There is some additional stuff like Don't Breathe that comes out, and then we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be a busy month here. I think, did we decide we're going to hit The Shallows first, actually?
Yeah, I think we should. I
Yes.
think that looks crazy, and it kind of like, how many times do you get killer shark attack movie starring Blake Lively in the movie theaters in the summer? So I think
Not enough time.
Once,
and that
twice
seem-
a year tops.
that seems like one to me that your average listener is not going to just like be gung-ho about spending their money on, but might be curious about. So I think we're going to...
Man, and those commercials are fucking everywhere. You
Yeah.
cannot turn on a television or pass a bus.
They're
without
going-
seeing-
they're going
I'm
full-
going on record as saying cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, they're
about
going
this.
full shark movie, which has me interested. So
I mean, how are we feeling about the resurgence of
I need to see it.
aliens?
I'd like to do it on the show, but
I can't
Yeah,
wait.
no, well, I think so. We have the open week after. I think we're just going to come back, or sorry, 2 weeks after, rather, after the purge. I think we just got to come back and hit it.
Yeah,
I think it'll be good. I
I'm
feel like
definitely gonna
these
be there. So
I
why
feel
not
like
talk about it.
studios have been actually doing pretty well with the nostalgia bait stuff lately. Like, I think that they have gotten good at just doing the fan service stuff that we want, that I want anyway. I can't speak for fucking most.
If a
kids, but-
dude doesn't fly a plane like directly parallel or perpendicular, rather, right into like,
Yeah.
the
Ugh.
eyeball of a spaceship,
like
I'm
I
gonna be
want to
upset.
see, Goldblum hamming it up, which I am sure is in there, and I want to see like a virus uploaded to the computer with a floppy disk from 1998 or whatever.
Oh yeah,
It is going to
Jazz
be
drive.
super interesting how they handle like
got
how they
space
handle all
plane.
this stuff.
But I do love the idea of like, oh, we took all of the technology in and like prepared for the next time they came back. So like it's
Yeah.
near future technology, super future stuff. Like that's kind of cool.
It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a little
Speaking of-
disappointed that the rest of you guys aren't going to see Central Intelligence like I did this past week.
I saw it.
You did? What'd you
What-
think?
What's
I
that?
loved it.
What's that?
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid, but it was so funny.
Oh wait,
Wait, is that the one with The Rock?
Yes.
The Rock and Kevin Hart, yeah.
I would like to see that.
somebody
The
wasn't?
nice
it's,
thing is the thing I liked about it is with The Rock's character, they set it up in the commercials. He was a fat kid in high school. Now he's The Rock, and he's a Central Intelligence agent. But I love the fact that he's still a fucking dork.
He's
He's just
actually
a total
pretty.
dork.
He's actually pretty funny. Somebody
Oh,
was
I love The Rock.
somebody
I'm
was
on board for The Rock.
inquiring on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Somebody wanted to know on Twitter this week what episode it was that Joe was talking about The Rock's diet of cod.
Praise be to
In
God.
God we trust.
Joe gave him an answer. I don't remember what it was, but
God
Yeah, I
bless
think
you.
it was The Voices, I think. with,
Voices. Ryan
God
Reynolds.
God
Um,
damn it.
So speaking of
Uh,
Goldblum, I watched Jurassic Park 2 this weekend because I'd never seen it. And that series went off the rails pretty quick. Like they went from
Yeah.
0 to dog shit pretty fast.
Yeah.
I tried watching Jurassic Park 2 recently, and I didn't go back to finish it.
I made it
so-
the whole way through just out of curiosity, and like I gotta watch the third one. I've never seen that one either.
Vince Vaughn. He ruins everything.
It's just a terrible script. They overthought it. You know, like they
I mean,
made
more than
like,
Jurassic Park 1.
they made Jurassic Park 10 instead of just making Jurassic Park 2. They were basically in space.
I saw it literally when it like came out on video, which was what, 1998 probably.
It's shocking that Spielberg directed it because it's not solid.
It's not good.
hoes? What are the hoes? What are the hoes?
Oh, Christ.
Man, you guys want to talk about this movie? I feel like we're struggling.
No, I'm
No,
not.
we're good.
I'm divine
We're
right now. Joe, what are you drinking while we review this movie?
Oh man! So we are watching Southbound, and I'll be honest, I think I watched it like a month ago, so I don't remember everything. But I picked a beer from the good folks at Lazy Magnolia Brewery,
Oh, I like that accent.
based out of Kiln, Mississippi.
I do declare.
I do declare this is their Southern Pecan Sweet Nut Brown Ale.
Joe, stop your review of the beer. Go get your bow tie. Put it on.
Yeah, I'm really liking this Delta Burke impression.
I need John to come over and put it on for me. So Southern Pecan is a brown ale, and they claim on their site that they are the first ones to ever use roasted pecans in their in a beer.
It's a pretty
what that
specific thing, you know.
yeah. Although I mean, I would think like pecans, like a lot of southern breweries that would kind of go with that.
Well, sure. It's like there's also a lot of beers. Like, have they
Yeah.
really explored this fully? I don't know.
I don't know.
Continue.
But anyway, so brown ales have sort of that like biscuity flavor to it, but this one definitely has like sort of a nutty, which you would expect to get from the pecans. And it's actually very good. I don't know how far they distribute. I think we had this one down in Tennessee, like around the Nashville area. So I think you can get it like, you know, in the southern states, if you will. But I had a few of their other beers too, and everything that Lazy Magnolia, at least of what I had of theirs, was very good. And I wholeheartedly recommend this one.
That pecan brown ale is actually pretty available in Indy, so.
Oh, nice. I've never seen it here in Illinois, but maybe I just haven't looked hard enough. Comes in at about 4.5% alcohol, so not like super high, which is pretty typical for a brown ale. They don't really get up there. But again, very, very good. LazyMagnolia.com is their website, and apparently you can find it, you know, in places. So give it a go.
Noblesville, Indiana.
I love
You
me.
betcha.
I love me a good malty ale.
Yeah, this one's great. I enjoyed it. I think I had a few of these. I've been blacked out for a
As
little
an
bit.
old coworker of mine used to say, a pecan is something you put in a pie. A pecan is something you keep under your bed.
Huh.
Words
It's
of
like
wisdom.
warm molasses coming out your mouth.
Words of wisdom from that one guy I used to work with. All right, guys, let's take a quick break so that we can review Southbound.
Colvin, man, we gotta get this sucker done, though. Seriously. Last night, man, I was so drunk I was calling Morocco, man. Trying to get to the Hotel Hilton at Tangiers in Casablanca, man. That's pathetic, man. Is that what you want to do with your life? Suck down peppermint schnapps and try to call Morocco at 2 in the morning? That's senseless. But that's what happens, man.
Hi, this is Tom Savini, and you're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Up the front time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back in the house to talk about Southbound. John,
Yes, Eric.
words.
I was wondering if we should address the fact that Joe is standing up for this episode and
Oh, I like
therefore
it. I like it.
taking his dance moves.
You know, I didn't
to-
notice that,
Feels
but
great.
I didn't notice that, but now that I was looking at his shot and thinking like something looked different. I actually like it a lot. I have
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
contemplated doing this show standing up before.
It's a little aggressive. Like I feel like it could jump through the screen at any moment.
It's very like
I know. I
it-
want to.
It's very like morning shock jock. Like
Yeah,
he's ready to
that's-
just tell you to go after yourself.
Charters in the douche.
Yeah,
Dingo in
Charters
the
in a
baby.
douche.
Traffic southbound on 995.
All right, John.
I wish one of us could make a really good slide whistle noise with our mouth.
John, will
Good enough.
you be attending the Republican National Convention in Cleveland coming up here?
In the land, I will not.
Okay.
But Eric, do you know where the Democratic National Convention is this year?
Yes, but I forgot.
One
So you don't know.
Philadelphia.
Ah, nice. You gonna go to that?
No, but
Philadelphia.
You gonna participate in some like Bernie riots? That'd be fun.
It's unclear to me why any city wants to host either of these events. Like,
Oh
if
my
you're a
God.
city, aren't you just like, fuck you?
This is what I
get out of
want.
here.
Were you in New York when the Republican National Convention was there?
Yeah, it was in
Yep.
like Brooklyn though, wasn't it?
Oh
did-
no, this was in Manhattan. It might have been before your time when you moved there, but it was a fucking nightmare. Like literally, I walked up to Port Authority one night, like later in the evening, and no joke, there was like a full-on riot going on.
Yeah,
Like, I was
just
walking
want
up the
to.
street, and all of a sudden, cops and like the batons and like all the like fucking gear just started storming through.
I mean, the Republican one I would think is worse for protesting.
Oh yeah, especially in like New York City, like it just seems ridiculous. Like why would you?
yeah,
have
like
that
who
there?
are you kidding? Like,
I
yeah.
just want to
just
see
don't
some
do-
burned out cars and some riots, and I think that'll be fun. It'll be good summer.
It's less cool when it's happening directly outside.
Yeah.
Anyway-
I was legitimately worried for things.
Anyway, Schnars, my point is words.
Words.
Please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is desolation.
Mm-hmm.
That's DESOLATION, a state of complete emptiness or destruction, anguished, misery, or loneliness.
Like Joe's
Jesus.
heart.
I was about to say, it sounds like you when you got off the plane here.
Desolation. The desolation comes to us, as many words do, from the Latin. Desolare means to abandon. Yeah, and we've taken that, we've run with it, and now we have desolation. Southbound is in many ways a bleak film. I would say that it portrays desolation. It is embodying of desolation, even. Would you agree?
Could you use it in a sentence, please? No, it's you. It's fine.
The
Tell-
desolation
Tell me
was-
about.
was bad.
Tell me about. Tell me about Southbound. What's this movie about?
Okay.
Who made it? What's the dealio with this movie?
Yeah, so Desolation
Fucking nailed it, John.
is a movie. Southbound is it's an anthology film. It's sort of a different type of anthology film, and we'll kind of get to that. But the directors here, there's 4 directors. There's sort of 5 stories, really 4 stories, because one of them is sort of the bookend to the film. We open with it, and we don't necessarily know where it's going, but eventually we kind of circle back around and end with that film, or with that same story. So the directors are Roxanne Benjamin, David Bruckner, Patrick Horvath, and then actually a crew called Radio Silence, who has directed a couple of things. They've done some VHS segment. They did something called Devil's Due. Is that yes, it's the pregnancy
That's
one.
the Bad Baby movie.
Oh God, that movie.
I
Wait,
will.
did they do the was VHS, was that like the haunted house one that they did?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
they did the first VHS. They did something for the
Yeah.
first
So
VHS.
I'm gonna guess like all these dudes are a crew because the one of the producers is also the guy who runs Bloody Disgusting, and he was also involved with all those VHS movies. They may have actually put those out. They have like a label.
Possibly.
Bloody
So you're right
Disgusting
though, Brad.
Films.
So you're talking about Brad Miska.
Yes.
Yeah, he is not in the Radio Silence group. I don't think it's 4
They're just
people.
bros.
Yeah, they're
bros.
they're boys. They get down. And yeah, so we have the movie's called Southbound. It is set in, I don't know, would you guys say Texas? Somewhere sort of in like the Southwest.
Sure.
It's got a Texas-y vibe to it.
I don't know if it's ever revealed exactly where, and frankly, it's probably intentional. But essentially, the film opens. You've got these 2 guys in a pickup driving away, sort of like frantically from something, and you quickly see that they're being sort of stalked by these floating ghouls.
That's that are made out of like wool or like
Steel.
carpet padding.
Bad
Yeah.
CGI.
I actually thought they looked awesome.
No,
Yeah,
I do.
I
I'm not disparaging them. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what they.
Yeah,
what they
it's like an interesting mix of like practical special effects and definitely some digital stuff, because they sort of show them in different depths of field. So they probably shot them and then sort of edited them in. So you've got these guys running away, and I mean, a lot of these stories are actually really simple, right? Like these guys are running away, they get caught by the ghouls, and then the ghouls kill them. And I think what's interesting about the way that the anthology is structured here is that what happens is they get to a motel, and they're sort of murdered by the ghouls in this motel. There's some other stuff that kind of happens, and the one guy is seeing things and yada yada. But the way that the anthology works is that as soon as they're sort of killed in their room, the camera just sort of like pulls out of their room, goes to the next room over, and now all of a sudden we're sort of in the next story with the people. It's actually three women who are in this next room, and so the next story is like these three women. They're in a band. They are driving, and their car breaks down. They get picked up by a couple, and it essentially is a cult type situation. Without, I don't really want to spoil what happens, but they're trying to escape from the cult, and then that one sort of cuts with the one of the women being like running out into the road, being hit, and that sort of kicks off the next thing, which is the accident is sort of the name of the next one. And it's all about the guy who hit her trying to sort of he calls 911. He does the right thing. It's not like a hit and run situation. Like he hits her, he's freaking out, but he calls 911, and it's like the 911 call is super strange. He's being sort of played with, almost like pranked by someone who's answering the 911 call, and he ends up in this town, and it's a completely abandoned town. It's an abandoned hospital, and just he's being like walked through all these sort of crazy fucked up things with the 911 operator. Eventually that one ends with him driving away. I mean, there's obviously a lot of shit that happens, and he sort of like passes actually no, what it is we see the dispatcher. It's a woman. The person pranking him is.
Are you high, John? What is going on right now?
I mean, no, I'm just trying to explain the way that each of these pass to each other.
Go on.
Incessant rambling. It's just
Thank you, Joe. So we see a woman on a payphone. She's playing the role of the dispatcher. She walks into a bar, and that kicks off the next one, which is a sequence about a guy who's basically going to rescue his sister from another sort of cult type of situation. Again, super weird, random shit going on, lots of symbols and all this stuff. That one essentially ends by wrapping back into the first one, and the opening and the closing sequence rather are the ones that are directed by that Radio Silence crew. We see the original guys from the first sequence kind of performing almost like a what the hell's the name of the movie now with Liv Tyler? I'm gonna forget. Strangers, like a Strangers style attack on a young family. And
that's when you sit on your hand.
Well, yeah, and you realize like this is the thing, like this is the thing that they were running from. Now in the beginning, we've kind of like traveled back to the start of their story, and that one essentially ends with them right back to where they were. So it's a circular film, but it is an anthology with discrete stories that are told sort of in interlocking ways, which is kind of interesting.
Mark.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
So we should say that we were going to do this episode a couple weeks ago, and we couldn't get the scheduling together. So you guys have, I don't know if you all rewatched it, but I just watched it for the first time very recently, and it had sort of slipped my mind that it was an anthology. So the first like half an hour of this movie was super fucking confusing, and I was like, wow, they really don't care about any of these characters at all. And then I was like, oh wait, this is an anthology. I honestly, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I would say that I really appreciated it and I enjoyed it, but there aren't a lot of like highs and lows in this movie. Like there's nothing in it that's particularly scary. There's nothing in it that's particularly gripping. There are a couple moments that are like supremely fucking gross that kind of stick with me. But I would say that I just like after watching it, I have this kind of like low level feeling of enjoyment. One of the things I mentioned over email, and we've mentioned the show on the podcast a couple of times, is the Welcome to Night Vale podcast, which if you haven't heard us talk about it, is like basically this radio drama. It's like a fictitious radio drama about this town where just all this weird shit happens. And there is some like backstory and they're all kind of like tied together. But a lot of times it's just like in a given 20-minute episode, it's just about some weird phenomenon that happens. Like someone goes into a house and the door disappears and like all this shit that happens. And this movie kind of reminded me of that, minus the sort of whimsy of that show, which is like these stories are all sort of loosely tied together, but there's all sorts of like, kind of strange shit happening. And I think that that's what I enjoyed out of it, is that like, if you're into just like general genre weirdness, there's a lot of different types of movies within these shorts that make up the whole. So I thought it was really enjoyable, but like, I don't know if it's like a high octane ride. It's just kind of like a low key, like, oh, that was cool. I liked it.
Casey.
So yeah, I didn't know much about this going into it. I did not rewatch it since the last time we talked about recording this, but it's interesting enough that it actually stays fairly clear in my mind, having a couple weeks, between me and the movie. So, is this the greatest, like a new rebirth of the anthology movie? No, it's not. But that's not to say it's bad. There's some interesting stuff going on here. Really, I like to get into the storytelling of movies a lot, and this tells a good story. It's the way, as John talked, the way all these shorts meld into each other and everything. It's pretty clever and it's pretty cool, and a lot of the stuff that the shorts that they threw out there are different enough from a lot of the horror stuff that we're getting out there lately, especially like in the direct-to-video market and stuff. So it felt fairly fresh. It's not mind-blowing. This is something that would be great if you stumbled across it, like when it inevitably shows up on Netflix or Shudder or On Demand or something like that, and you're clicking through and you forgot about it. It's got a catchy cover. The cover catches you in. It's gonna be one of those movies. It's like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool, and you didn't feel like wasting your time.
Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with Mark. Like, it's pretty even keel. Like, there's not a ton of ups and downs, but I think I probably enjoyed this more than at least Casey and Mark. I liked it a lot. Like, I thought the little creatures at the beginning were really cool. I actually thought the sort of cult segment had a lot of tension in it, which I thought was great. And I thought the 911 segment was, pretty gross. So I thought it kind of had a little bit of everything, which I really enjoyed. And I thought it did a really nice job of sort of tying everything together. And like, at the end, like everything kind of circled back, which I enjoyed a great deal. I'm rambling a bit. It's going to be fine. But I would say like overall, I actually really enjoy this.
John.
Yeah, I also enjoyed this, and I mean, as Mark said, we watched this for the show. I don't even know, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I just watched it yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's good for you guys. But I watched this a while ago, and
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, so I'm actually kind of stretching. Like, what the hell?
It's one of these things where like I look back on it now after a couple weeks, and I'm like, no, I actually would watch this again. I think like I would be interested because. I think Joe hits a lot of the right notes, which is surprising. But I think it's also
boom
really...
roasted.
Holy shit!
I'm sorry I made fun of your ridiculously drawn out.
Joe was able to string words into a sentence, so good for you, Joe. We're
you
giving you a certificate.
He's a big dumb animal, folks.
I would also add a couple of things, so it's pretty brisk. It's listed at 89 minutes. It runs faster than that to me. I also, and Casey sort of was getting at this, but like, I like that it presents a unified worldview. And it might be like, I don't know, I might be overstating it, but like, even though there's different directors, they feel creatively of the same, I don't know, ilk, right? Like, I kind of talked about this.
It's very consistent visually and directorially.
Yeah, so that's cool. Even I use the word desolation for the word of the day, but like even the tone is pretty consistent. So all that I think really plays in its favor, and I think is is better than you see in a lot of other. We've seen a lot of anthology movies recently. It's kind of become like a popular trend, a way to like unify a lot of short films, or to kind of like engage the sort of horror community with the up and coming directors. This to me is like one of the better ones of that crop for that reason. So I don't know. I'm definitely on board.
I think I might be the dissenter, maybe not like extremely so. I think that I agree that by far the best part of this movie is the way that they tie everything in together. It's refreshing to see an anthology where there was that much thought put into the stories and how they weave together. And what that does is it gives you a real sense of place, because every story takes place in this same kind of area. And so you are just kind of exploring all these little stories within this little like slice of southwestern area. I think that for me, what I struggle with is finding something like extremely memorable that I'm gonna take with me from this film. I guess like maybe the little apparition-y things that are stalking the guys are pretty weird. But I felt like overall the stories are a little half-baked. Some of them just kind of end. Or like some of the endings, it's weird. Some of the endings seem more like the ending of the girls in the band, right? And they're in the creepy house with the people. Yeah. That ending serves more the next story than it does the story. Like it doesn't really give you any closure on the story you just saw. All it does is it sets up this disgusting, crazy thing for the next story, which is fine. Mm. But then you're like, well, what happened with the girl? Like that's kind of weird for me.
Well, it's an interesting thing because the following story has a similar deal where like it's wrapped up in a certain way, but you don't really revisit it. It's this interesting thing, like everything's existing in the same world, but it doesn't necessarily wrap up all of the different kind of stories in a neat way.
Yeah, and even like the wraparound story, or it's not really the wraparound story, but I guess like what you begin and end with, like didn't really make any fucking sense to me. Like I get the little twist, but it's a little thin for me, conceptually. So I don't know that I would recommend this, but I think that there are some like promising aspects to it for, it's an indie thing. It's pretty lightweight. It's not like going to take up 3 hours of your day or whatever, but it's just kind of fell flat for me.
I guess for me, a lot of the criticisms that you have, so like you're not wrong. Like I don't even disagree necessarily. It's more that
correct.
I would make most of those same criticisms of sort of any anthology movie, because I think the challenge with anthology movies is like it's really hard to make a short film that's just super compelling. And in this case, it would be really interesting. I mean, the production or sort of history here would be actually really interesting, right? Like how much were they collaborating? How much did they edit scripts to sort of make them all fit together? So like, did they change things and yada yada? Like, was there more to some of these stories? I'm sure there was, but like I'll take the trade-off of sort of less complete short, because every short is by its very nature like going to be incomplete, for the sort of improvement in overall narrative quality and I guess like through line, if that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I almost kind of enjoyed the fact that they didn't try and wrap everything like in a little bow for like each segment. I feel like anthologies, if there's one thing that really annoys me, is like at the end where they try to have like some sort of clever like like 30-second tie-in at the very end where they try and wrap things up and make it look clever, and like 9 times out of 10
they use the twist. It's like they try to use a twist in a 10-minute movie.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work. Whereas this, I kind of like the fact that like, all right, we're watching these girls in this cult. They run out, one gets hit by a car, and all of a sudden we're in like this whole other scene now, and we're kind of leaving that other one behind. Like, I thought it was actually a pretty cool way to kind of just keep things flowing in this movie.
I will say it's better than like it's better than like the ABCs of Death, where they're just showing title cards and then you see a fucking shitty short film.
Here's a person getting impaled through the asshole. All right, on to B.
What would that mean for C?
I
can't remember which one. I don't know. It's so bad. Like that's the ongoing legacy of ABCs of Death in my head. It's just that one, just horrible murder chair sketch. Anyways,
But it was memorable.
It was definitely memorable for all the wrong reasons. But the one I was talking about specifically with a kind of unsatisfying ending, and I guess this is a spoiler, but like we've already sort of spoiled the entire loop, so I guess that it doesn't really matter. But I thought the one with the guy who was like tending to the girl that he hit with his car, I thought was like really tense and really pretty awesome. Like when like he's getting the phone call, but also he's trying to like manage a call from his wife and whatever, and you like go through this whole thing, and then it gets this like kind of twist wrap up, but it's interesting because in the beginning of the movie it's sort of hinted at that these little like woolly demon skeleton things are basically like, they're, I can't remember what the exact word was, but it was like you need to pay a price or you need to whatever, and I thought that was going to come into play with the guy that got like his situation kind of neatly wrapped up, and it didn't, and maybe that was a little disappointing. But at the same time, like there's so many other like weird loose ends in this movie intentionally because it's this like kind of this like kooky anthology. I guess it's splitting hairs, but I just feel like that one in particular felt like the ending was just like it was a surprise, but it was just kind of like an underwhelming surprise, I guess.
I actually kind of like to see that character like get off in a way. Like I liked how it was an interesting character decision to like show, because you're already kind of in your head, you're like, God, is this a bad person? I can't tell. Like he was texting on his phone like an asshole, but he's just this normal dude, and it was this weird circumstance. But he's also trying to like do surgery on her. But then the second he thinks he can get away with it, he's just like, oh really? Okay. Like,
Yes.
so that's an interesting like character thing that I actually enjoyed, that they gave him that chance and he's just like, fuck it, I'm out.
I in preparing, I did read most of the Wikipedia of the plot just because I had to fucking remind myself.
They were gonna say
most of it.
you did text while driving on the desert highway.
No, he wasn't even texting, wasn't he? Actually talking.
That
on
was
the
some
phone?
pretty egregious,
was-
like, no, his wife was sending him pictures of a dress and he was talking to her on the phone about it. But like
Really,
he
it's
wasn't
her
even
fault.
he wasn't even doing the whole like look for 2 seconds and look back. He's just straight up staring down at his phone.
Yeah. No, so no, but what I was going to say is like there is some discussion on the Wikipedia page about the fact that this is a loop and the fact that all of the characters and all of the stories are stuck in the loop, right? So that this guy's punishment is actually having to continue to be toyed with like endlessly, and like he thinks he's getting off only to like come back around when the story reloops.
Yeah.
I didn't pick
get that.
up on that necessarily.
No.
But it's also like when I think back on it, it is a looped plot. Like the first story gives way to the second, gives way to the third, gives way to the fourth, gives back to the first, right? So like they do reconnect in that way. It just like, I mean, maybe I was like not paying enough attention.
I mean, I think, well, you don't really know that's going to happen when this movie starts, which to your point, I think is why I actually would like to watch this again, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff I probably missed just because I didn't know I should be looking for it.
Yeah, they mentioned some of that in the Wikipedia. Like there's like Easter eggs in some of them.
Oh, I'm sure.
The thing though that I was like unclear of then is what is supposed to be why is the guy in the fourth one? I mean, in some ways the fourth one might have been my favorite because it's like almost like a Cthulhu type cult or something where like all the people are like monsters inside, and they have like all these like symbols. That Mark sent the GIF. I don't know, Eric, if you used it with the dude who puts the hand over his eye and the eye blinks, or he has like a tattoo on the back of his hand that blinks.
I didn't see that one. If Mark wants to resend it,
it's
Mark
Mark will resend it.
I like that cult too because it had kind of a Nightbreed feel to it.
Yeah. But I don't understand, like, if the whole idea is that we've got bad people, because the girls, like the band, there is this whole kind of like subtext of there was a fourth member, but she died or was murdered, or like kidnapped because they like left her alone. I don't like. There's a lot of like.
Don't you cancel the tour when that happens?
Oh.
But
haven't you ever heard of TLC, Mark?
We don't need a bass player.
No, but I didn't
Don't
pick up on exactly. I didn't get
chasing
that guy who was trying to find his sister was like equally as bad. I don't know. He just seemed like a dude who was like off his rocker a little bit.
Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to.
Did you guys catch comedian Dana Gould? in this one.
Yes, I did. He was the
I thought
father.
that was kind of funny.
He was the father of the first Crazy Family. Like, and it really, like, he's good in that. He should get those roles more often because he's really creepy.
Yeah, he was creepy. I didn't know who he was, but he was solid. How did you feel about Larry Fessenden?
Oh, I missed him.
You didn't
did-
probably.
no.
He was the radio.
It was the
Okay, so the radio wraparound was like kind of my favorite thing. I really like that.
Funny because at one point in this movie, I was like, "How is Larry Fessenden not in this movie?" I guess I just didn't like fully recognize the.
Oh, I thought he was really good. So like,
He's just like omnipresent. He's fucking everywhere. Like in any like weird indie horror movie, he's just there.
Honestly, I
Yeah.
could have used more. I could have used more of the. They used it to
Yeah.
kind of wrap it up, but it could have been more sprinkled throughout. I thought.
I mean, I
I
do
would have
wonder.
liked more of that too.
Yeah, I
really
do wonder
liked it.
too if that's where like the Night Vale thing kind of was like wrapped up in my head because that's really sort of the tone of like just that kind of like low key.
I want-
it could have used more. I'm definitely.
You know what I want? I want Night Vale, but less goofy and dumb. Like Night Vale's cute, but like I want a podcast like that that's actually just kind of weird.
That's why it's so good because
like
it's
more-
goofy and dumb.
Like more Twin Peaksy, creepy, like that. I think that someone should do that show and then send me a link so I can listen to it.
Maybe you should make that show.
Get right on that.
Joe,
Yeah,
you're
I heard when you have a kid is like a good time to read,
Yeah.
like to start a whole.
To
new
start
night
another
podcast.
Start a
podcast.
really
Yeah.
involved horror fiction
Joe,
podcast.
Joe,
with-
you're already standing up. That's like half the battle.
Yeah.
just
I don't,
start
know
right.
what, I don't know what that means.
Just
but-
saying.
Get out your box of crayons and start writing.
Box of crayons.
Right.
But seriously though, if that exists, somebody email me and let me know, please. Eric@bloodygoodhorror.com.
One of the things I did like about this, and I guess I maybe sounded more sour on it in my original opinion than I really felt, but I like how different like each one of these shorts offers a different thing. Like I actually really liked the kind of extended bar scene into the like weird driving into nothingness. Like I thought that was, and I just love like there's all these, there's these like floating demon things going on. There's cults, and then there's just fucking dudes drinking at the bar that like have claws for no reason. And I actually like really enjoyed that. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a cool. I don't know. I think. Oh, good.
I mean, I think the one thing that stands out to me, and I'm kind of interested in your guys' opinion, like, there's no segment that I was like, this is kind of dragging on and I really don't like, which I feel like is rare for an anthology.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like if I had to rank these, like I don't even know. Like I don't know what I would put last.
Yeah.
I
mean,
For me, that's fairly obvious that I think like the Stranger style home invasion would probably.
See, I thought that was pretty good.
I
Like,
thought
I
that was
really
good. I
liked
thought
it.
that was
I
creepy.
didn't mind it. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but I think I like the kookiness of what was going on in all the others. So
Mhm.
by the
Also-
time, but the ending of that one actually helped seal the deal on it too. So.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Casey, are you counting that as separate from the opening sequence?
Yes, technically, I guess.
It was
Yeah.
the same
I
house,
see.
right?
It's weird.
It was the
Yeah.
same house.
Well, no, the opening. It's the same director and same basic story. It's like
It's not the
The
same house though,
wraparound.
because I thought it was literally the same house.
you mean that he's like seeing in his vision?
No, I'm talking about the so there's the girls are in the beginning,
Mhm.
and then there's the story later on with the home invasion. It looked like the same house to me.
No.
No.
I'm talking about the like opening sequence.
Yeah,
where
you
the
got to
dudes
think
are
of
in
the opening
truck.
as part of that home invasion bit.
No, that I got. I'm talking about two
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah. No,
It wasn't
those
the
are
same
different
house as
houses.
that.
Man, is it possible to have a thin plastic mask that's not creepy? Like these were like whimsical old man face plastic masks, but they were still fucking super scary.
Yeah, they were real creepy.
Yeah.
My least favorite honestly is like the hospital one, only because it was just too much. Like it was too torture porny. I hate to use that word, but like
You think?
it-
Bro,
Like,
do
I
you even
didn't.
watch Grey's Anatomy? That's like
yeah,
every
no, that's what it
episode.
was like. It was like an episode of Grey's Anatomy, and I fucking hate that shit for that exact reason.
Minus the sexual tension.
It's surgery
Hmm.
porn. It's like
Well,
it's surgery porn, and I can't.
there
I
was a
can't do it.
smidge.
the part where he's carrying her and she's like clearly crumpling, and then he like throws her on the table and her fucking leg falls off. It's like
Ugh.
it was so gross because it didn't fall all the way off. It fell 90% of the way off and was just hanging, and then he like picked it up and flopped it back on the table.
I thought that guy was one of the better actors.
Oh, he was great. I thought
He was
did a
probably
really
one
good
of
job.
the
with it.
only actors in this movie. Honestly.
No, that's you're
Yeah,
mean.
no, some of the
Mark.
acting in this movie were real bad. I'm just gonna say.
But I thought he was strong, and frankly, he's the only actor in that sequence. I mean, except for
Right, he kind of has to be.
So,
Yeah, he carried that pretty well. So, I mean, I think
big
like
gurgling.
for him and his performance, it ranks that one higher than like the home invasion one for me. If you're thinking of it out of context, I don't know. It is really hard to kind of rank them all.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed the kooky cult shit, and we had 2 kooky cult segments, and they weren't the same.
yeah.
Which I guess to your point, and on the flip side, like there's no one that stands out as like this one was absolutely my favorite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. That's the downside of no terrible one. There was also no amazing one.
I mean, I can't think of the same. I can't think of another anthology that takes place in like all of the same setting. At least one that we've done for the show. I don't think we've done one for the show that does that. Except for Tales from the Hood, because I guess it's all from the hood, but it's not from the
The setting
from
was the
same-
hood, Mark.
Yeah, from the same hood necessarily. But I really like that aspect of it. I loved the like little floating demons are sometimes a threat, and sometimes they're just kind of like chilling, floating in the background. I thought that was a cool, like menacing touch to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they didn't have a rhyme or the floaty guys didn't have like a rhyme or reason to how they were going to take people. Because like one guy tried to run for him, they snatched him. The other guy was going to give himself up, and they're like, no. And they wanted it to be just right. Before
Yeah,
they
and
take
they're
it.
like sometimes they're spider things that stab you, and sometimes they just like create a sinkhole and you fall in it. I wouldn't want to live there. It doesn't really seem like a place that I'd really be into living.
Well, it's
silly.
yeah, it's kind of a place of
Technically.
the mind, Mark.
Like the scene
Texas.
with I just saw that flash of lightning in the webcam there.
Ooh, now I can hear it.
The guy like who's like trying to drive his sister out of town and the road ends and he just keeps driving and she's like, well, whatever you do, don't stop. And then he just stops. Like, wouldn't you try? And then he's taken by naked mud people.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was a little not saying that it ruined the whole bit for me. I was one of, I think I enjoyed that story in the anthology a little more, but I was a little disappointed after all the don't stop, all the weird shit going after outside the car. Finally, he stops, and it's just a bunch of mud people grab him and drag him off. That was kind of, I wanted to see something a little crazier.
Mud people.
the mud people.
What do you mean mud people?
Mud
I mean, they
people,
were
not
people
enough
covered
for
in
you.
mud.
Oh,
Yeah.
The
Yes.
muddies.
New Jerseyites.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh.
boom.
Yikes.
This is
Any-
coming from a person who lived in fucking Massachusetts.
Yeah, man, dude, Massachusetts is way fucking better than Jersey. Are you kidding me? It's not even close.
Absolutely not. Boston is full of garbage
We
people.
have
and I will
Harvard
stand by that.
We have Harvard here. Schnars knows something about that.
Oh,
It's
you
in
have
the-
the Harvard.
It's in the Ivy League.
Rutgers is like the Harvard of New Jersey. So.
Or
Oh, but
Princeton.
we all have Jersey Mikes, right? We all have that in common.
That's right.
No, what's Jersey Mike's?
I don't know if we have it in New York either. I think it probably is.
Is
I don't
that a-
think you do, actually. I
that-
honestly didn't have Jersey Mike's until I moved out here to Illinois.
Is that a sub place?
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's fucking delicious. It's better than your goddamn Boston Market.
Well,
The
nobody eats
fucking
Boston
rotisserie
Market.
chicken at the...
Boston
Hold
Market's
on.
fucking garbage, Joe.
No,
Yeah.
Boston Market is delicious.
No, it's
and-
not.
Boston
Nah.
Market
Watch
macaroni and
yourself.
cheese is otherworldly, and I
Yeah,
will
that's
hear
pretty good.
nothing else.
All right. I can't argue that.
Fucking jerks, let's all come together
We should move
and
on.
agree on a very clear fact.
We don't
not an
actually,
opinion.
like, come to think of it, we don't actually have any, like, regional fast food things I can think of or in that vein.
No, you just have teen pregnancy.
A lot of
That's-
beer. Right, and Jersey doesn't have teen pregnancy.
No, they
Joe.
have murders.
All the teens are murdered before they get pregnant. It's perfect.
Exactly.
All right,
Well,
anything else you guys
Southbound.
want
So
to
this
talk
kind of
about?
proves my point that it's like there's not a lot of meat here. It's just kind of fun, crazy shit that happens, and that's over.
You ever been to, like, an A&W root beer? Those places are great.
Oh, yeah. Those are delicious.
Whoever-
Beer
Very,
and a
like,
hot dog.
old-timey.
Whoever
What a
had the
world.
thought of, like, we should make a root beer float with soft ice cream is
Hot
a
dog on it?
goddamn genius.
I love root beer floats.
I still love root beer. Does that make me a 6-year-old? I don't know.
No, root
Nah,
beer's
root beer's-
delicious.
Yeah,
No,
it's
now
good.
you can get that not your father's root beer.
Oh
Mm.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, sure.
I love being drunk.
Yeah.
We should move on.
All right.
I feel like we're done with
Is
the
there
movie.
anything
Do you
e-
remember that was it you that sent us that review? We were in some magazine or something, and they used some adjective to describe us that was like sort of an insult.
Oh, I
Yes.
just deleted that too.
I did.
Oh,
I can't
no.
remember what it was.
But it was like something about how just like pleasantly fucking disheveled and not together. we
Yeah,
are.
it was.
yeah,
It
pretty
was
much.
something that meant a mess, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but like a
Shambling.
lovable mess. What was it?
Shambling.
Shambling.
Yeah, there you go.
It was like shamblacious or something. It was something like
Yeah,
way over
it
the
was
top.
close to that.
Shambolic.
Shambolic. That's what it was. It was
Mm-hmm,
shambolic. That's a word of the day that describes every episode. We're just like
Yup.
halfway off the fucking rocker, but we're still here.
Bet your butt. All right. Anything else about this movie?
Mm-mm.
It's a movie.
Would you recommend somebody actually spend time out of their day to watch this, Mark?
I would recommend that they would put this on the TV while they do other stuff. Sure.
Casey?
Yes, this is good for streaming video on demand finds.
John?
Yeah, I'm also going to say yes.
Joe?
Yeah, I'd agree.
I'm gonna say no. Life's short, man. You got better
suck.
things. You got better things to do with your time than this shit. But it's
It
fine.
is not. It is not short.
It's fine.
Drags on.
All right, guys. Let's take a quick break here so that we can do some fan mail.
This audience is watching what the film critic for After Dark magazine has called the most terrifying movie I have ever seen.
Leave me alone! Jill, we traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Just get out of that house.
Every babysitter's nightmare becomes real when a stranger calls.
Hello, creeps.
It's John Kassir,
The voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I'm a friend of bloodygoodhorror.com.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Back in the house. Joe's back just in time. Perfect timing. Joe.
Look at
Nice
that.
work.
I thought maybe
Kids
you
in your
retreated
fucking
to your
TV.
storm shelter, Joe.
Oh my god, I love it.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is email address. This is actually going to be a short show because there's no fan mail this week. But
Oh, good.
if you'd like to send some, info@bloodygoodhorror.com is one way to do it. The other way you can do it is at BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH. That's Twitter, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Oh, thank you for hipping me to that thing that I do every week. This first one is from Chupacabro7.
Yes.
I like it.
Love it.
Are you guys gonna review Dude Bro Party Massacre 3? # Get a Mother.
Is that a movie?
Yes,
Probably
it is.
not.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
And it has Patton Oswalt in it, from what I read.
A young man, Alec Owen, infiltrates a fraternity after serial killer Motherface murders his twin brother. Apparently, there are two. Oh, and it was a Kickstarter joint. It was so there you go.
I do have an email here.
Oh, good.
Dustin says, there was talk a few weeks back about getting your kids into horror. I saw Night of the Comet in theaters when I was 5, and by the end of it, I looked like Kyle from South Park after he watched The Passion of the Christ. I was 5, by the way, and I think it was a, quote, no babysitter, so my sister dragged me to the theater with her friends kind of thing. I honestly think it was the first book I ever read. Oh, wait, sorry. Yep, that was all for that. I honestly think it was the first book I ever read that set me on that path. Oh, The Spooky Old Tree by the Bernsteins. The sheer amount of little background details in the background of the haunted house tree in the story made me a lifelong lover of haunted houses in general. And it didn't take that much to branch out into other horror subgenres. At a certain point, I had read many more books about horror than I had seen actual horror movies. I think this led to my mother misunderstanding my readiness for horror and giving me A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master, for Christmas when I was 8. I finally watched it a few years later. A book for all the parents of BGH to keep and stored until the time is right. Invasion of the Black Slime. It's from a series of choose-your-own-adventure type books that were more horror-oriented, and I found it legitimately scary at that age. I advise you all to head to Amazon and secure yourself a used copy and save it. It may even be a bit scarier than I remembered, keeping in mind there's a bad ending where you are crushed to death by a gigantic disembodied still-beating heart. But it's ostensibly for kids, so you can give it to them guilt-free. Anyway, keep up the good work in the podcast, and congrats to Eric and Shanners on the arrival of the next generation.
Oh.
Thank you for that. That's from Dustin.
Muchas gracias.
Dustin.
There's a
So
lot
he said
going on
Night
there.
of the Comet was the movie that he watched that scared him?
And the name of the book.
Night of the Comet is not particularly scary.
Dude, when you're a kid,
Yeah,
though.
it's got its moments. It's
He
got
was-
like those zombie type
Dude,
people.
he was 5.
Yeah, it's a little scary when you're 5.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Whatever.
And the name of the book is Invasion of the Black Slime, in case anybody want to check it out. I fucking loved, like, I didn't read a lot when I was a kid, but I loved Choose Your Own Adventure books. They were my favorite.
I was cheated.
Too late for you?
No, I read them, but I always cheated because you'd hold
Oh,
your
yeah.
fingers in, go see what you were getting next, and
Of course he did. I'm not
jump back and forth.
I'm not a masochist, of course.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does. That makes you a masochist. If you fucking read one of those books, you get 5 pages in, you die. You're like, well, I guess my fun is over. I'm done now. No, you fucking go back.
No,
and
you don't
pick
like
the other
stop
thing.
reading it forever. That's not the point.
That's what made him great for book reports. When
No,
you
you lost the game.
No, you immediately go back and you change your decision because in life you don't have that option, so you fucking take it when you can get it.
Joe was like, I thought it was weird. This book was like
4 pages.
it is.
Where's my goddamn pizza?
Man,
I love
Oh my god, book it.
I love those books so much.
Yeah,
me too. Big fan.
I would read adult Choose Your Own Adventure books. Do those exist?
Probably.
I mean, adult coloring books are a thing now. So
I was about to say that's.
It's a good point.
I'm sure they're coming if they're not out there now.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
That's
Are you
my
ready
new
for
Kickstarter. Pledge now.
adult color? Oh, adult Choose Your Own Adventure books. Make it happen.
Yes.
Ooh, what about like adult, like just like porn? Choose your own adventure. I like that. Good thinking, guys.
Oh, you came early. Sorry.
Oh my
And
god.
the book catches on fire. All right, ask BGH. This next one is from Franchise MPLS. Did Eric enjoy the Carl actor cameo in Conjuring 2?
What?
Any interest in a Nun or Crooked Man spinoff? Hashtag hooray for sisters.
By the way, okay, briefly, I want to go back to last week because somebody last week was like, what's better, Conjuring 1 and 2 or Insidious 1 and 2? And I said Insidious, and then I listened back after the show and was like, wait a second, Insidious 2 is a flaming pile of shit, and I completely forgot about that. So I'm going to retroactively say it's the Conjuring 1 and 2 are better. That said, I cannot believe Carl was in that movie and I missed it because it was he Carl?
Wait, who's Carl?
Carl?
You're talking about Carl from
Walking Dead?
No.
No,
Carl is the guy in
from,
Insidious 2 with the fucking magical tiles who, like, Lin Shaye needs his help and she goes to his house and he literally looks like he's been doing nothing for 20 years just sitting there waiting for somebody to talk to him.
Carl.
And she's like, you're probably going to die if you come with me. And he goes, hey.
I can't wait until Lin Shaye comes back.
I was not on the Insidious 2 episode. I don't know that I saw it, although I did watch Insidious 3 and was not confused, so potentially I did
Carl
see it.
is a key figure in
I
the
didn't see part
history.
2.
Carl is a key figure in the history of Bloody Good Horror, and I expect you to know everything about him.
Yeah, that's fair. I should probably watch it.
Honestly, I kind of feel like it wouldn't be as notable of a person if the character's name wasn't Carl. Like if it was anything else, it would not have really.
Like, oh, Carl.
I thought it was a stretch of a joke for Carl from Walking Dead being lost again.
Yeah.
Coral.
I think Crazy Carl's got a point here.
Ooh, we've got so this is a question we've been asked frequently, but I'm going to read it anyways. And also, I think there's a controversial opinion contained herein. That's from Nick Allman Scott. What is your favorite horror anthology, and would anyone agree that Creepshow is overrated?
Ooh,
you're barking up the wrong crowd with that question, buddy.
Yeah, that is a literally incorrect opinion.
I once stole a copy of Creepshow out of a lady's cart at a thrift store because I saw it in like the old original fucking run of the VHS with like this amazingly pristine cover, and I'm like, bitch, that's mine, and I stole it.
How did I not know that? That's the dirtiest thing I've ever heard.
Oh god, and I fucking don't regret it for a second because it's the greatest movie. But so I just have.
You think she has a podcast now where she just laments the loss of her Creepshow?
That movie.
Somebody stole my Creepshow.
No, but if she had looked like a horror fan, I wouldn't have done it. But it's just like some old lady. She was just buying random crap.
Judgy.
So yeah, whatever. Anyway,
do we all look like horror fans?
That movie.
If she'd looked like a mall goth, I would have left it in the car.
That movie was on TV a lot when I was a kid, and it just hit me in my lizard brain at a certain moment, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it. So I do not think it's overrated, but.
It's great. Like we've watched it recently, like, and it definitely holds up.
It's just the music. Like I listen to that soundtrack all the time. The music is amazing. It all just the style. It's such a good fun.
That's
flick.
the one with the raft, correct?
The Stephen King story.
No, that's part 2.
Okay.
And I like part 2, although part 2 is pretty weak with it, but I like it.
I love Creepshow. I am also going to throw out Twilight Zone the movie as a movie that I love.
Yeah.
That's great.
Is that the one with Ray Dong Chong? No, that's Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that one's pretty good too, actually.
Yeah.
The Twilight Zone
the
is just fucking wacky.
That opening scene with Dan Aykroyd scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
You want to see something scary? I mean, really scary. It's good shit.
Yeah.
That was always on. Creepshow was always on. Cat's Eye was always on, and Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, they're good. They were perfect for like throwing on TV in the afternoon for like stations because they could really easily be edited. Like when they showed Creepshow on TV, they almost always cut out the last story for Time with the guy. So like it was years later until I ever saw that story because I'd mostly only seen it on TV. Which is funny because it's the guy with the bugs. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. I was just thinking about that's like
So usually it just ended after the crate, which is actually probably where that movie should have ended. Anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Really quick, because I'm researching Twilight Zone the movie now. I knew that Spielberg was involved. I did not realize the other directors are John Landis. Joe Dante, and George Miller.
Yeah, because I remember when we were at Horror Hound and Landis was there, he wouldn't sign anything from it because that dude died. He was like bad memories.
Oh yeah. Well, that's sad.
Yeah, I always consider that a John Landis movie.
Wait, what dude died?
Would you consider it a John Landis joint?
A stunt guy got like his head chopped off by a helicopter when they were shooting the movie.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
If you Google search it, it shows up on the first page. It's not sweet.
Yeah. That one really brings out the Twilight Zone. The movie really brings out the nostalgia feels for me. So it ranks pretty high up there because I can remember watching that with my dad back in the day, late at night, and it was just good stuff.
It's just a straight murderer's row of directors. Like that's as good as you're gonna find in anything. I mean, it's no radio silence, but
there's something to be said about the consistency thing. Like if you look at Creepshow, that's an example of just a really consistent wraparound style through the whole thing, and how far that goes to kind of making it feel like a real movie. Because honestly, a lot of times I hate to say it, but when I see anthology movies, I'm like, oh, okay, so like not a real movie. Like I'll just sit and watch a bunch of short movies and whatever, but it's tough to pull off in a modern context, I feel like.
Show enough.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. All right, we got a couple more. This one's from Alan Murch. Southbound sounds like another way of saying you are going down on someone. What are your favorite euphemisms for oral sex?
Nice.
Oh no. Oh no.
I would have needed some prep time for this.
Yeah, come on, Mark.
Tune in.
I'm
Tune
not
in next
clever
week.
enough.
Okay. Also, I think this is way funnier than whatever our answers would be. It has one favorite, Cece.
Huh. I'm a big fan of skin flute, playing the skin flute.
Muff diving.
Sure.
That's very much
Like is that even a euphemism?
Yeah.
I feel like that's very like 80s comedy that you would find on like HBO at like 11 on a Saturday.
It's a grandpa joke at this point.
Yeah.
Does that South Park episode where they all went around licking carpet count?
That's a good one. Fucking carpet, Jesus Christ.
Oh Lord Almighty. Okay.
I think of all these things as just like phrases that George Carlin would have used in bits. I don't know why.
Nipples and dicks.
Nipples and dicks. Yeah.
I was actually listening to George Carlin today.
He's so good. It made me think of the bit where he's talking about how nobody knows what a snapper is anymore.
Does no one in this fading republic know what a snapping is? All right, next one is from Stout2114. Has anyone told Joe that he sounds remarkably like Dane Cook? Sorry to potentially ruin your day. Hashtag not really sorry.
Huh? You think so?
I'll take it. I don't think I do. No one's ever told me.
He certainly got a deep sexual timbre about him, but I don't know that he sounds like Dane Cook.
Can you just do the dumb hand signal or whatever it is?
Yeah, or say like ripped like Jesus.
Sweet and sour sauce on my pussy.
Oh my God, that was an actual Dane Cook quote. Good job. Now you just have to repeat it over and over 20 times in different ways until people laugh.
I'll be honest. That first Dane Cook CD was freaking hilarious.
I definitely at the time rocked it out, but like it's tough to go back to, man.
I saw him perform at RIT when he was like on his downslide, and the only thing that I remember from the entire routine was he did a bit about shooting a cashew into his mouth off of his dick while he had a boner. That's the only thing I remember.
Oh, I do remember that.
I saw him in 2004 in LA. I think it was 2004.
That would have been when he was blowing up, right?
Yeah.
It was actually before. Like we didn't have any idea who he was, but we were going to the Comedy Store in LA at the time, and it was just like, it's like a fucking Wednesday night. Like let's just go see some shows. It was actually John Lovitz was on stage that night before him.
No, thank you.
And we were going for John Lovitz, and then it was just like, Dane Cook's here too. And we probably, he might have been blowing up at the time. We didn't know who he was. We legitimately thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
He was hysterical. Like that first stuff was like really good.
Let me take this up.
But yeah, like we saw him at Madison Square Garden, like at the theater, just as he was blowing up, and all he did was like bits you had heard already. Like he was doing like he was like a best of or something, which that's when we kind of realized like, oh shit.
Let me take
this
this opportunity to say that John Lovitz sucks and is the worst.
No, he was amusing. I was amused by John Lovitz.
Absolutely not.
He's no Kevin Neal.
I never got to see Dane Cook. I did get to see George Carlin in concert though.
That's
go me.
I'm envious.
Yeah.
Lucky. All right, last one. The Lausch. Did you see the gameplay of the Friday the 13th video game? Looked kind of gross and boring to me.
Yeah, I watched
Hashtag book by its cover.
I watched a little bit of it. So the story behind this was that these guys had been raising a Kickstarter basically to make their own Friday the 13th game. And kind of shockingly wisely, I guess, like Sean Cunningham stepped in, and instead of just saying, hey, you can't do that, they basically hired these people on and said like, hey, we have the IP, you guys are a little studio, let's like make this game. And they continued. I think they might have done a second round of Kickstarting or something, but they just were showing some of it off at E3, and it sounds like it's basically a non-congruent multiplayer game where like somebody will play Jason and the other people are like avoiding / I assume trying to kill him. But yeah
it's like
that's what I've read.
That's gonna be tough, and I think Friday 13th is one of those things that sounds like, oh my god, you got to make a Friday 13th game until you sit down and start trying to suss out what that means. So I'm interested to see if they've like solved some of those problems. It's an interesting exercise.
There's some new game that's out on PC, and I cannot find the name of it right now. I am sorry. It's a slasher type thing, and it's the same type of gameplay. Somebody's playing the killer, running around trying to hunt the other 4 people, the survivors around, things like that. And I don't know. That's going to be kind of weird because there's going to be a couple games coming out that are just like that.
I was just reading too that the Netherworld people are talking about wanting to make a horror slasher fighting game. Should be pretty sweet. They're basically doing it anyway with Mortal Kombat, but
it's cool. It's just an interesting, like, I think that horror fans, it's you get a sense of scale. Like, I don't think horror fans make up as much of the kind of universe as we think we do sometimes. So it's interesting. Like, I think it's cool to do it. I wonder, like, for someone like NetherRealm, does it really make sense to, like, it's just not a very like mainstream appealing. It's cool to like sneak horror characters into a Mortal Kombat game that people are going to jump onto anyways. But I do wonder like what the mainstream appeal of something like that.
But
would
at
be.
a certain point, if you could do it on your existing engine with like minimal legwork, it might make sense.
Like they do with Injustice or whatever those games are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is they're doing another one of those too.
Word.
So which
I'm
one
cynical.
of you?
I mean, I'll play it and I'll love it if it happens.
So which one of you has the rain right now? Because it's like it sounds insanely loud.
Me. That's why I said I gotta wrap it up quick because it's like really happening.
Didn't you see Casey's post about how they might die in a tornado?
I did see that.
Yeah.
What's next week?
It did.
Well, I'll be getting Mark Storm. I'll be getting Mark Storm within about 2-3 hours.
Cool.
We're going straight theatrical here for the next 6 to 7 weeks.
Going into the shallows.
Dear Lord.
The shallows. The shallows.
But I can't swim.
I don't swim very well. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on Twitter at BG Horror. We're also on fucking Snapchat at BG Horror. Joe BGH sending out pics of his balls every day.
I still don't get Snapchat. We have new reviews every day, and we've got some DVD commentary reviews that are going up. We've got some trailers, got all sorts of shit on Bloody Good Horror.
And check out Patreon. You can find out how you can stream the show live every week, and also get the pre-show where you can talk with us one-on-one about any sort of thing you might want to talk to us about.
And listen to us fuck around with computer stuff.
That's it. It's going to do it for Bloody Good Horror. Everybody, hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.